Entertaining the Filipinos and OFWs around the world. Streaming live on www.facebook.com/DZRJ 810 AM or on YouTube, channel RJAM News. To all Teleradio Bandido viewers and listeners, you can now watch Teleradio Bandido on our new YouTube channel, RJAM News. Hit the subscribe button and like the video. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified when a new video gets uploaded. Don't miss out on our dynamite lineup.
And welcome to the World News Jam right here on DZRJ and RJTV. My name is Eric Lecain and I'm joined as always with Lalie Tolentino. We're also on Facebook and YouTube, so check us out there, as well as TV Plus boxes. And we are all over the Philippines, Lalie Tolentino, from what I understand. You know, Lalie, today I'm wearing green, and it is not because of a political view. Are you wearing green today because you do have a political view?
No, because this is my kind of old green, and you know what? It doesn't matter what color I'm wearing, because I love all colors. Okay. It doesn't
Good
mean
answer.
I am, politically inclined to whatever I'm.
Well, speaking of things that are upcoming as well as politics, you know what's coming up in exactly a week from today? Do you know what day is exactly a week from today? I'll tell you, Lalie Tolentino. It's Halloween.
Oh, yes.
Halloween's coming up. And you know what Halloween means in the Philippines? It means
What?
It's Christmas time. In fact, it's like midway through the Christmas season already. Halloween is. But, it's going to be, is Christmas this year going to be a big party or not? That is the question that we're all asking, because the cases of COVID are not really going down yet. But it's October, so we still have time before Christmas. But right now in the country, there's not enough people getting vaccinated that we can possibly get herd immunity or even close to it by Christmas. But that's just one issue. But the big news this week, I don't know if you've heard about this, is that this Christmas, will we have enough stuff to buy presents and things for people? Because there are massive supply chains going on this holiday season. China, it turns out, is having trouble getting the big name U.S. brands ready for Santa's sleigh. It's deemed right now, it's being called the everything shortage. Toys, shoes, bath towels, snow globes, video games, everything is running out.
Oh.
So.
Okay. All right, let me comment on that. In the Philippines, I don't think we're going to run out of, anything. We got enough supplies. And because there's a solution to that. In case, they run out of toys and all kinds of presents, we don't need to get those branded, products. There's a lot of places where you can buy the cheap t-shirt, anything cheaper, where it is, right? And
Just
not only that, if you run out of those stuff, give give cash, put it in a red envelope, whatever envelope, give it.
Philippines always accepts cash.
Yes.
Even little kids. I don't need that Nintendo. Just give me cash, Mom. But I think a lot of it has to do with the name brand stuff, because many experts are saying right now that it's panic buying, that the companies are ordering too much stuff now because the rumor is there's not going to be enough stuff. And there's shortages of raw materials, and there's power outages and trucking companies that have huge setbacks, and there's backlogs in the ports, and there's all this stuff for especially the name brand stuff like Nike. Supposedly Nike is having a huge shortage. But it's something that maybe it started out as a small problem, but it's becoming a big problem in the world right now. It's like a tsunami, it's tsunamis. They start out at like 4 inches, like it's a little ripple in the ocean, like 4 inches, like 20 miles out. And then by the time it gets to shore, it's like this giant wave. But to add to the chaos, supposedly China's freight costs coming out of China are like going through the roof. And so stores are not being able to get or predict that they'll be stocked for Christmas. But of course, like you said, in Philippines, just everybody takes cash.
Yeah. You don't need those material stuff because you can ruin it, but the cash is very important. You can buy anything.
Well, in other words, what I'm trying to say is everybody don't be like Uncle Eric here, who usually waits till around December 23rd or December 24th to buy his presents, probably get them early. Or you may be giving, like Lalie said, either cash or Filipino-made socks to everybody you know. I know those Filipino-made socks because I love them. But anyway, Lalie, because our show is based on stories going around the world this week, things that our viewers are interested in, things that our viewers ask us, the questions that they send in to us. And this week, I believe there are a lot of questions.
You're right, Eric. There's a lot of questions coming in every week. So, want to start the ball rolling now?
Yeah, let's roll that ball. Because, as I've said before, our viewing audience here on the World News Jam is incredibly smart. So I know I have to be on my toes to be able to answer some of these questions. So let's get right to it. What is our first question of the week?
All right. This is from Mila of Makati City. Can Americans sue the doctors who are biggest spreader of misinformation of COVID-19?
Boy, don't you wish. But as of now, the answer is no. You cannot sue doctors for spreading misinformation about COVID-19. Now, in most of the United States, I'm not sure exactly about the Philippines, but most of the United States, you cannot sue a doctor for any COVID-related death, even if it's their fault, because there are blankets of immunities for doctors in COVID. And that's the way it is mostly in most countries right now. It falls under something very similar to the Good Samaritan law, which says if you're trying to help somebody, and in trying to help them, you kill them, it's not your fault, and you can't be sued for the death. But even if a doctor delays your treatment or suggests an unproven treatment that doesn't work, that he got off of Facebook, and the person dies, he gets away with it for now, as far as I can tell. Now, the funny thing is, if it was another disease, if it was not COVID, he would not be under this blanket immunity, and you would be able to sue him. So, the question I think was, and this, a lot of this comes from the government executive orders. Trump started this in the United States, that you can't sue doctors for COVID-related deaths. And that's still going on. But the question that I guess asking is, if a doctor gives out misinformation and that causes people to die, and right now for instance, I just remember something off the top of my head. If, like, a doctor comes into a school board meeting and says that the vaccine is ineffective and actually makes the virus worse, and that ivermectin and zinc will be the things that'll save your life. Okay. Now, if these remarks were made by a doctor and that speech was released on, say, YouTube and spread all around the world, and it resulted in people not getting vaccinated, and later their relatives are saying that it was because of that speech that our relative died. Now, right now, you can't sue that guy, but the Federal Board of Medical can take away this guy's license. And they have said before, they have warned that if doctors continue to do this, to say things or to speak out publicly, and that causes harm to a person, that they can have their license revoked. Now, you can't sue them because they have to show that they harmed an individual person. And if you make a blanket statement like that, it's hard to prove. Even if it's, you do harm an individual person, it's still hard to prove. And especially with all these executive orders that are going around. But they do have a possibility of losing their license or their license being revoked.
Okay. So, because the question is specific for COVID-19.
Yeah.
Not for other symptoms. Okay.
Yeah. So,
all right, let's move forward.
In other words, doctors don't give out misinformation. I know, I mean, we're supposed to be, there's so many cases of, there was a doctor that did get suspended for saying that 5G internet was causing COVID, and he wouldn't stop. And they eventually suspended him for saying that. And then there was another doctor that said that the virus was over. It was completely over. And the college reprimanded him. I don't know what that means. But as far as I know, I mean, I've looked, that I don't know of any doctor that's got his license revoked from giving out misinformation. But I mean, if you came out and said chemo doesn't work on cancer, or you said eyeglasses cause brain tumors, I mean, you probably would get fired at least. And I'm just surprised that, they're so scared. I think they're scared because they're worried that the doctors are going to sue them back. Who have free speech. I have free speech. Should speech be free? I don't know. I think it should cost you your license. But anyway, that's just me.
Okay. Now let's go to Milo Pasay. How true India are offering money to family of COVID-19 victims? Is it government or private?
Isn't this an interesting topic? Now the question was, is India offering money to the families of people who lost family members of COVID-19? Because you remember, India had a lot of problems with COVID, especially in the second round. And it turns out that the government is splitting $300 million amongst the families of people who died of COVID, especially during, that second wave, which we reported here on the show, that claimed so many lives. But there's a catch. First thing, splitting $300 million, you get $670, basically. That's what you get. But you must prove that your family member had COVID. It must say on the death certificate that they died as a result of COVID in order for you to get that cash. And because basically India was not prepared for the huge outbreak, and people died simply because of silly reasons. No oxygen, no ventilators. They couldn't, they was just, the hospital was full. They burned people in the parking lot. If you remember that crazy story, because they just weren't ready for this. So most of the families of people who died are very poor and uneducated. And supposedly in India, the government purposely tried to hide the number of COVID cases. And they recorded 447,000 deaths, but experts believe it's really something like 4.5 million deaths in India. So many people who want to get that money, who need that money, but they have no recourse of getting that money because, their relative just died and just disappeared. And that's part of the problems they're having right now, in that, because, the richer people, of course, they're able to show, they went to the hospital and their relative died in the hospital and they recorded a death certificate. But a lot of people just died at home and then the bodies were burned. And they're like, well, my relative died of COVID. Can I have my $670? And like, well, you have to prove it. So that's becoming an issue. And some people have come out and said, what they should do is they should just give this money to the poor people who had COVID, whose family members have COVID, not the rich. Because $670 is not that big of money to the wealthy people in India. However, it's huge money to a poor family. And they said that a lot of people have criticized it, that they should make it easier for a lot of the families who did have people who died during that second wave to be able to get the money.
Okay, that's not that much. $670. It's not
$600. I mean, should the Philippines do something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Why not? If we can afford it, but we are not a rich country.
Yeah,
but
well,
maybe some philanthropists can do it. I mean,
privately.
People can do
privately, I think that would be a great thing. Even anything at all. But I think, part of the issue is in India, they passed a law back in 2005 where any natural disaster, they automatically give people, 400,000 rupee. Now, this is only 50,000 rupee. So, but that's part of the law. And so in what people are considering, COVID-19, the big outbreak that happened there, is a natural disaster. That's what they're saying. And that's why they're giving out this money. Because of this, basically based on this law from 2005. The problem is they don't, they can't give 400,000 rupee out to all these people. And what if what if it was 4.5 million people, like they say that is, not 400,000? So yeah, then the government wouldn't have that much money. So I guess they're doing the best they can.
Okay, well, good luck to them. I hope they can really help a lot of people. Anyway, let's go to Eli of Parañaque. Okay. Why COVID cases are soaring in Britain? What are they doing?
Why is COVID going up in the UK? Why is it going up in the UK? The world looks like it's kind of leveling out now, but for some reason in Britain it's not. And in case you haven't been watching the news, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I think maybe a month ago, of what they were going to do there in Britain. And they have taken a different approach to the virus, and their approach is live with it. Last year during Christmas, Boris Johnson decided basically to cancel Christmas in Britain, basically shut everything down during Christmas. But this year he decided to just let it be. We can't beat the virus, so instead we're just going to live with it. So there's almost no restrictions in the UK. Bars, restaurants, gyms, concerts, everything is just going along. It's just running side by side with the Delta variant. So if you get it, then you get it. If you die, then you die. That's their attitude now. And Britain had 2 million cases in the last 2 months, 50,000 cases on just Monday alone. On Tuesday this week, 223 people died. That's the highest that they have had since March. Now, in stark contrast to this, the European Union has been very strict on COVID. They've started the COVID passport. You have to have a passport now, and they have mask wearing and social distancing and the proof of the vaccine, and and you have to have a vaccine in order to go to work and to go to bars. But not in the UK. The UK has Brexit, so they're on their own now. They can do whatever they want. They're not part of the European Union. So the European Union is very strict, but the UK, right now in the UK cases are 3 times higher than France, Germany, Italy, Spain combined.
Wow.
So
yeah, just because of that, believe that, it's like part of your own risk.
Yeah. I mean, we knew this was going to happen. They said, all right, listen, we're not going to have any restrictions. We're not going to we're just going to let it be. And so everything is open. So the virus, of course, is going to spread. And they are predicting right now that in the UK, by Christmas time, they will have 100,000 cases per day. Now, I don't know how many people live in Britain. I have to look that up again. But, I mean, getting close to everybody having it. They're taking a chance. But, I mean, it may get so bad that they're saying Boris Johnson may end up having to reverse course, as opposed to just let it be, which I wanted to sing Let It Be on the show today, but my throat's not doing so well. But that's, I think Boris Johnson, at some point, it's going to get so bad that he's going to have to make a decision. And then when he makes that decision, he's going to make a lot of people mad. I know, but he may, one thing I suggest to Boris is don't wait until like a week before Christmas to close everything down. If you're going to do it now.
Yeah. This is one thing we did in the Philippines. You shut it down now so we can open up on the last quarter of the year. I mean, something like that. I thought British people are smarter than Filipinos. I think we are smarter at some point.
Right now, I mean, first thing, my opinion, I think Boris needs to back off of his thing. First thing, he needs to comb his hair. That's the first thing. And then secondly, after combing his hair, he needs to back off of some of these ideas of like, hey, let's just, if you get it, you get it. If you die, hey, that's just part of life. But it doesn't have to be. I think, they should sort of align themselves a little bit back more with the European Union and see if they can get this thing under control again. And get as many people vaccinated as they can, and then let's let's open the country up and have more less restrictions.
Okay, Boris Johnson, listen to Eric Lecain.
Yes.
All right,
Boris.
Let's go to
Watch our show, Boris.
Yes. Let's go to Radio Plus Piñas. Okay, this is kind of follow up on this. New variant being watched in the UK. What do you know about this?
The new variant.
All right.
Okay, yeah, of course. I mean, they've let the virus run wild in the UK. So now, okay, they got so many problems there. Let's throw into the mix of record number of cases and people dying a new variant of the new variant. So the Delta variant has a mutation now that's making the virus even more transmissible and showing signs of standing up against the vaccine. What else do we need? So they have dubbed this version the Delta Plus. Now, I know when you're on Delta Airline and you upgrade your seat from Coach to Delta Plus, you really don't get very much extra. However, this upgrade to this Delta Plus is jam-packed. It is a major upgrade to the virus. Currently, it looks like this new version is accounting for 6% of the number of cases in the UK, which is not that much, but of course, I believe it's just going to grow. It is a subtype of the Delta variant that has mutations to spike proteins that the virus uses to enter your cells. So, I'm just talking about the scientific side of this. Because of this increased way that the virus is entering your cells, some scientists are freaking out about this thing, worrying that if Britain does not do something about this, then this thing may spread around and the vaccine may not be very helpful to getting rid of or dealing with this thing. So I think a lot of scientists have come out publicly and already said that they need stricter measures in the Britain ASAP before things get worse. And this new Delta Plus starts to spread outside of the UK.
Well, I hope they will, they will not get to the Philippines again. My goodness. Or shut down the airport. Or the people coming from that area.
To say when you have, first thing, you have record number of cases, and this is the point we're already into, we're coming up on the 2-year point anniversary of this virus, and to say, hey man, let's just chill, let this super new virus just come in, we'll be fine. That's your plan, Britain? Boris, come on, that's your plan to let this new Delta Plus get, right now it's 6% that we know of. What if it's 10? What if it's 20%? And this, let's just say that the scientists are correct and that this thing, does the vaccine is less than 30% effective against this new variant. Then what's going to happen? What if this spreads to different European countries? Of course, the Philippines is a little bit far away, but somehow the Philippines is able to let the virus in through various ways of letting Brits come in through the airport. So I worry slightly about this, and I'm sure there's going to be other variants that are coming in, but the Delta Plus is the one that's on the big news scene this week. So let's not upgrade.
Yeah, we don't want upgrade at all of COVID. Anyway, let's go to Mary Lee.
Isn't it funny that they call it Delta Plus, and Delta Plus has an upgrade that you can upgrade from Coach to Delta Plus? I've upgraded Delta Plus. It's really not worth it. I wouldn't do it. Upgrade to the next one, but Delta Plus, it's just, you get a little bit of, the food is a little different, but So anyway, what's the next question?
The airline. That's the airline, not the virus.
That's the airline, not the virus.
Yeah. All right. Now, this is interesting from Mary Lee. Do you think whiskey can replace fuel?
Yes. Can whiskey replace car fuel? First of all, don't drink and drive. I don't know really if it really isn't even related to that, but letting your car have a drink, this may be the way of the future, especially with the leftover products from whiskey production. They're able to turn the leftover product after they make the whiskey into some kind of biofuel. Really, I was just, I think this is amazing. I love science questions. When they produce whiskey, it turns out that they only use 10% of what they make. What actually 10% is what goes into the bottle that you actually drink. And a lot of that is water. So in other words, don't take a whiskey bottle and pour it into your gas tank. It's not going to work. But in Scotland, where they produce most of the whiskey in the world, they have a way of transforming the leftover material into a form of alcohol called biobutanol. And this biobutanol can be used as a car fuel, kinda. So now, as we know, this bioethanol, which is what we've had for a while now, that's fuel made from corn products. This is very similar to that, but unlike ethanol, this particular product that they're making has almost the same energy as gasoline. So when you mix gas with this whiskey byproduct together, your car's fuel will run cleaner and more efficiently. It's an amazing idea. It really is. It's an incredible idea.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if they have to, discover something that can probably, use for fuel or anything. I mean, and now I will be excited if, the next one is vodka with the fuel.
I don't know about the vodka, but in Scotland now, I mean, don't pour whiskey into your car. I mean, it's kind of cool to think of it like that, but it's actually the byproduct of the whiskey that makes the fuel.
Yes.
But go to Scotland and get yourself some biobutanol, and your car will appreciate the drink.
I'm sure.
We have something new called car bars. That would be a great name for a new gas station, a car bar.
Okay, well, let's wait for that. Hopefully,
you can order a whiskey and some biobutanol. I don't know what. All right,
now, Eric, let's go to the health corner of our program, which is the question of Monette from Alabang. Okay, here's the question for you: how do you improve deep sleep?
Well, if you remember, we talked about sleep about a couple of weeks ago on the show, and that you need to sleep because if you don't get a good night's sleep, it can cause other problems, like medical problems. And this is proven now. So, mostly the problem, especially if you're not getting enough. Now, as far as how to improve deep sleep, there's some really obvious ones that, because just in my own experience, I have a lot of problems with deep sleep. Like I can't, I sleep for like 5 hours and then I wake up. And then, a lot of people, especially over 50, they have this problem. They sleep for 5 hours and they wake up. Then they can't go back to sleep. And then they finally go back to sleep. And then by the time they wake up again, now it's too late. We go through these problems as you get older. But, make sure that you have good light during the day. And this sounds very simple and very easy, but it's true. Don't sit around in the dark all day. When you're going to sleep, that's when you slowly cut the lights down. Like that's when, and this may sound crazy, but have good blinds and good curtains, and try and sleep in the dark. And they say that will make your sleep be better and deeper. And don't drink caffeine later in the day. That's an obvious one. But I mean, it's, a lot of people like they're having dinner and like having coffee after dinner, which you really shouldn't do. You should drink coffee in the morning or after lunch, but that's it. And don't take naps during the day. And if you do take a nap, take a light nap, but don't get into like, get into your pajamas and get into bed and have a nap at 3 p.m. because it's going to screw up your sleep later. And they also say that you should try and sleep and wake up at the same time every day. This is a problem I have. Trying to go to sleep and get up. And don't drink excessive alcohol at night. Now, you think that would make you go to sleep, but actually it has the opposite effect. From what it's actually really bad for your sleep. In fact, they say don't drink too much of anything before you're going to go to bed. Like even too much water. Don't drink too much water before you sleep. And don't eat before you go to sleep. And make sure the temperature is right in the room. And try and clear your mind. Don't, think when you're trying to go to sleep. And get a comfortable bed. And, exercise. Exercise always helps you sleep better. And, I'm getting a lot of these, these are basic things that you can just get off the web, but they work. And
Yeah.
we need to have a good night's sleep, especially as you get older, because a lot of problems will happen to you health-wise if you don't have enough sleep.
Yeah, really, really. Even, to me, I mean, having good sleep really is a luxury. I mean, because, well, yeah, that's one thing, make yourself tired within the day, because I normally start early. So by the time, like no, sometimes I go to bed really 9 o'clock because I'm already tired. So I can get really, not all the time, but I can get really a good sleep at night. And of course, like you said, can have a good bed and all that, with maybe air condition if you can.
There's so many things that'll help you sleep. But they say, I read an article just recently that said a good solid night's sleep will make you live longer. And they were saying like up to 10 years longer. And they gave, very specific, it wasn't just like some stupid article that you got in Cosmo or whatever. This was, a scientifically thing written, which is published, that explains why that is, like why you will live longer if you sleep better.
I will agree with that, because I noticed that the old people, I mean, especially, it's in my genes and my family also, because these people and my relatives are, they're already under 90s. My aunt is already 94. And, these people, they go to sleep early. I mean, have a good, maybe environment as well, especially in the province. They live longer.
Yeah. So, and don't do what I do. Don't think before you go to sleep. I'm always thinking. I'm always worried. Stress it out.
Okay.
I'll lay down.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's go to Milet of Quezon City.
Stressed out.
Colin Powell is gone. How was he as an American and a government official of the United States?
Well, okay. This week we celebrate Colin Powell, the life of Colin Powell. He was one of, I have to say, one of the most non-hated black politicians in the history of the U.S. He was a symbol of, he was the first black man of many things. First black national security advisor, first black joint chiefs of staff, first black secretary of state. I remember growing up, we didn't even really think of him as black. I mean, he was a hardcore military man, super smart guy. I never even remember talking about his race, but now that he's passed away, that's what a lot of people are talking about. He was the opposite of most black politicians because he was a super conservative, a hardcore Republican, like through and through. I mean, he was respected. Even the whites in the South loved him. At one time, people thought he was going to run for president against Bill Clinton and that he would win as president. What can I say? He was a black boy raised in the streets of Harlem. And he went into the military where he prospered. And at that time that he was in the military, that's when black people were not allowed to eat in certain restaurants because of the color of their skin. And he was a general in his late 20s or early 30s. And I mean, at that time, I mean, I thought he was great. He was on television all the time. And he, with all these wonderful things that he achieved throughout his life, he still would be remembered for the black clouds that were over his head. And he had one particular black cloud that will always be Colin Powell's legacy, and that's that infamous speech that he gave in 2003 in front of the UN Security Council. Well, he told one of the biggest lies in history, that he had proof that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. And he gave that speech to convince the world that the U.S. had the right to go into Iraq with their guns blazing and kill everyone. And that's what the U.S. did. And this comes after the Gulf War, which he headed up as well, where they didn't just go into war with another military. They went in against the entire society of Iraq, and they bombed, innocent citizens as they went. The bombing in Panama in 1989, he presided over that, which basically just killed poor people. in the United States, we celebrate him as a hero, and he kind of was. But, you know, the world is still looking at him as one of the biggest mass murderers ever because of all the things that, you know, I watched multiple documentaries. And he himself, Colin Powell, had so much inner turmoil when he had to tell the world about, you know, the reasons for them going into Iraq, because he knew it was a lie. And maybe the pressure, you know, and many people would say that Saddam Hussein deserved what he got. And, you know, he may have not had the WMDs that Colin Powell said that he did, but he was for sure was not a good guy, and he deserved to die. And who doesn't agree with that? I agree with that. But what about the hundreds of thousands of people that did die based on a lie that Colin Powell said? And Colin Powell, you know, who is he is a Republican through and through. And he recently came out and talked about, you know, criticized the insanity of what is Donald Trump. And he called out the obvious lies of Trump. I mean, he was a staunch guy. He wasn't one of these guys that's going to like fall behind, you know. He criticized the politicians who back Trump's lies, and the politicians that know that Trump is lying. But, you know, Trump lies are about paying off porn stars and having the biggest crowd size. And, you know, we have the coronavirus under control and the hurricane is over Alabama. Obama wasn't born in America. You know, those are Trump's lies. They're extremely obvious. But, you know, the things that Colin Powell did, with all the great things that he did, he will probably forever be remembered for what happened in Iraq when they went into Iraq and they took over the country and they killed all those people based on something that was not true.
All right, that will be a history, something to be, you know.
I mean, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing for me to talk about because I loved Colin Powell. I thought he was a great American. You know, he was truth, justice, and the American way. I mean, you know, except when it came for reasons for war. And, you know, I want to sit here and I want to say great things about Colin Powell because he did do a lot of great things. But you can't just say the great things without the one really big, you know, thing that happened in his life, which I think he regretted.
Mm-hmm. But, well, I believe that all leaders, I mean, everybody will commit some mistake in their, you know, leadership or, you know, what they're doing. So it's just part of it. So, you know, if you go to war, there will be people who will die and, you know, life will, you know, there will be sacrifices somewhere. So whatever it was, you know, just probably remember him of the good things he did for United States. That's my take on that.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody dies, you don't want to come out and say the worst things that they did. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't, you know, you want to respect, especially somebody like that after they passes away. It's just, that's one of those things that keeps coming up, especially after he died, is like, oh, well, you know, he did a lot of great things, but look what happened. Look what happened in, you know, in Iraq. And yeah, it was, you know, we went to war against Iraq. However, the United States, did they have the right to go to war? And that will always go down in history as they did not have the right to go to war, that they based it on false information. And that's, you know, that's the way history is going to write it. And so you know, let me just quickly say in closing, because I was such a supporter of Colin Powell during his time, especially when I was in college. And I thought he was a great guy, except, you know, for that time during the Bush administration where they were determined to go to war. And in any way possible, any way that they could figure out a way to go to war, they were going to war. You don't amass 250,000 troops there and then go, okay, well, we made a mistake, we're going home. So they had to come up with a reason, and Colin Powell was the one that had to deliver that reason.
Okay. It's now a history at some point, so.
Yes. Things you don't want to remember. I know I have some things in my history I don't want to remember either. Anyway, okay. But not that important.
All right, this one is exciting. Question from Renren of Santa Rosa, Laguna. Okay. What can you tell us about the new, is it Dune?
Yes.
Movie.
Dune.
And is it any different from the previous one? Explain, Mr. Lecain, about this movie.
Well, first of all, let me say, if there's anyone out there who knows the answer to this question, keep your mouth shut, because we don't want to know the answer. I don't want to hear it. I've been waiting around for this movie for years. Do not tell me what happens in this movie. So, of course, no one in Manila can say that they have seen this movie because the theaters in Manila are closed. And they won't open until November 10th. And it'll be coming out here in Manila. So just let me say, okay, that when I was growing up, I probably saw the first Dune movie. I shouldn't say growing up. I was already an adult. I saw the first Dune movie maybe, I would say 20 times.
Wow.
I had the hardcover book of Dune. I was a super Dune fan. I love that movie. The first movie, which is still amazing, was directed by, David Lynch, who turned down Return of the Jedi to do this movie. And, as it turns out, David Lynch hated the fact that he did this movie. Like, after it was done, he looked back on it and think it was the worst movie he ever made in his life. But I thought the movie was great. So anyway, just remembering back, I mean, the stars that were in that movie then, Patrick Stewart of Star Trek fame, he was in that original Dune. And so was Sting. And people said that when Patrick Stewart met Sting, he didn't even know who he was. And he said, "Oh, are you a solo artist?" And Sting said, "No, I'm in a band called the Police." And they said that Patrick Stewart thought that maybe he was in a band with policemen. He wasn't sure. But anyway, I thought that was slightly entertaining. And interestingly enough, I mean, for people who know science fiction and know great directors, Ridley Scott was supposed to be the director of Dune in 1980s. However, he turned it down in favor of Blade Runner. Now, the new version of Blade Runner 2049, was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who also directed this new version of Dune. Put that in your book and stamp it. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that movie is going to be out in Manila November 10th.
Really?
On the day that movies will open again in Manila. Now, none of this answers Ren's question. But the only thing I can say about the movie so far that I've read about it is it's better than Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. So, and everybody's in this movie. Jason Momoa's in it, Josh Brolin's in it, David Bautista's in it. So I can't wait to see this movie. Don't anybody tell me what happens.
Okay,
it's going to be the greatest movie ever.
Okay, let's wait for that. Rendra, let's go watch this movie all together so we will, we can discuss it, because I have no idea about this movie as well. What I know about Dune is my perfume before. Anyway, so there's a perfume of Dune.
Smells like the desert. Okay.
Ooh. Anyway, let's go to Edith of Mandaluyong. Interesting one. Do you think pig kidney transplant in humans will be successful after U.S. surgeon test?
Okay, so first of all, in regards to this question, I don't know if you know this, but most of the people waiting for transplants never get it. They die waiting for the transplant. I just didn't know. I just want to point that out. There just aren't enough healthy people dying to keep up with the demand for people who need transplants. And they're just simply, in our world, we simply need more car crashes or falls or overdoses for there to be enough body parts in the world for people to survive. So this is why I love these science questions. This is why this is such a massive step forward. I mean, if a scientist could find a way to replace human parts with pig parts, we could get one step closer to humans being able to live forever. So every time something fails, you just go get a pig. You go down, you get yourself some lechon, and you get yourself a new liver. I mean, this is amazing. They're talking about, this experiment that they did, and it's an experiment, that they replaced a kidney in a human being with a pig kidney. Now, the guy who they did the replacement on, he's not going to live because he's dead already. He's brain dead. They're just keeping his body alive. This was for an experiment to see if it would work. And, they're just like, hey, you know what? We have this guy here. He's brain dead already. Heck, let's just try it. Let's put this pig kidney in this poor dude and see what happens. And the results so far have been amazing. We use pigs for food. And pigs we use heart valves. I don't know, your heart valves, they can replace your heart valve with a pig heart valve, but this is an organ. And first of all, let me just say really quick that this pig that they use the liver on, it's not an ordinary pig. This is a genetically designed pig. It's designed to harvest his organs. And they also put in the thymus gland from this pig. They transported that to keep the rejection process of the kidney at bay, so that the guy's body won't reject the pig tissue. But so far, it seems to be working.
Really?
And the scientists who are doing this are saying, you know what? It's not going to be very long before we start using pig heart, pig lungs, pig liver. These pig people now with pig organs in them may, possibly live forever. But they said that about artificial hearts. Is if you get an artificial heart, theoretically, you could live forever if the rest of your body parts would just hold up. So with this new, if scientists now can bring home the bacon, and this transplant will work, I mean, you could just get a bunch of pig organs and, keep replacing your organs with pig organs. Now, let me ask you this, Lalie Tolentino. If you had a bunch of pig organs in your body, do you think that would change you in any way? Do you think you would want to roll around in the mud?
I don't think so.
All right. You're probably right.
I would rather have the pig, I want to make lechon out of the pig. And make the chicharron.
If you have pig organs in your body and somebody lechons you, I wonder how you would taste.
I know, right? I mean, wow. Maybe the greatest food in earth.
Put that in your plate and eat it. Okay. So what else we got?
All right, let's go to Nelson of Taytay Rizal. Boracay will open to fully vaccinated tourists. What about other tourist spots in the Philippines? What do you know about this?
Yeah, I mean, tourism is about to open in Boracay because they're almost 100% vaccinated. The people who work with tourists there. And so once that happens, you can go to Boracay if you've been vaccinated without getting a PCR test. It's great what they're doing in Boracay. I mean, I wish that they could do this in the rest of the country. They almost got everybody vaccinated there in Boracay. So I think, that is great news. I mean, check with your local barangay offices, but I'm sure, supposedly there are places you can go now, Baguio, Cebu Province, Puerto Galero, Subic, Zambales, places that you can go where you're not required to have a PCR test, but make sure, like I said, things change from week to week. So make sure you check with the barangay office there if you're going to visit there. But I think, things are going to slowly start as the vaccine starts to progress. Then more cities are going to open without the PCR test. And then tourism can be back.
Yeah. Come on, guys. Get yourself vaccinated so you can travel around maybe the world. Who knows? Okay. Now, from Gracie of Makati. Cinema will be open in NCR November 10 with 30% capacity. How cool is that? Would it help the mental condition of people, you think? Okay,
yes. Cinemas are going to open November 10th in Manila. And do you know what that means, Lalie? That means that you can go see Dune. Have I already said that? I think I already said that. But anyway, that will be the first movie to come out in the theater. So we're so excited about the theaters opening on November 10th. And that is one step closer to Christmas being normal, being able to go to the movies. So, I mean, it's going to be great. I mean, there's going to be some differences in the theaters, like the air filter system has been upgraded in theaters now. And the air conditioning systems are equipped with the MERV 13 air filters. There's going to be a reconfiguring of seating, contactless purchases. The way you walk in and out of the theater is going to be different now. I think it's 30% capacity for vaccinated people only. So you got to be vaccinated if you're going to go to the theater. But here's the big one. Here's the big thing that I was reading on the requirements, protocols they're going to have for theaters. No eating in the theater and no hand holding. You can't hold hands. No hand holding. So it doesn't say anything about no kissing, hugging, any sexual stuff, but no hand holding and no eating. So, by the way, Lalie, Tolentino, did you know that some schools may start face-to-face classes November 15th?
What I know is sometimes in January, I'm in the college.
Yeah, I mean, I read this thing that, you know, for whoever's vaccinated, I don't know what kids are vaccinated already, but some schools may start having face-to-face classes November 15th. So, I mean, that's great. It's great that we are getting, you know, that we're hearing stories like this, like Boracay opening without a PCR test and the cinemas opening. We're just taking little baby steps to getting to the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
The end of the COVID tunnel.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Slowly. You know, that's why people stop complaining, why the government doing this and that. You know, because this is for our own safety. This is for us to, you know, get back to our economy.
Yeah.
I mean, later on. So just follow the very simple protocol.
Every little bit helps.
Yep. All right, let's go to Pastor Ed of Pasig. This is exciting. With President Duterte daring the Senate for a showdown, who do you think have the upper hand on using this issue during campaign period?
Oh my goodness, how am I going to answer this question? Okay, so especially for all us, the people that are watching from out of the country, the Senate wants to have an investigation into the government's handling of the COVID-19 response. And of course, you know, the government has a lot of criticisms in regards to how they handled the restrictions and the vaccine and the overall culture of the pandemic in the Philippines. So Duterte does what Duterte usually does when anybody criticizes him. He threatens them. So when the cabinet secretaries refused to go to the hearings, the Senate said, "Okay, well, we'll cut your budgets." And Duterte was like, "So go ahead. You know, you're smart. I'm dumb. You know, what do you say? If your brains can handle it, then go ahead." In fact, you know, he said, "Remove the entire budget from the office of the president. Do you think your money will reach you without it going through me first?" So he said, "Let's have a showdown." So they're now having a showdown. So Senator Gordon said that, you know, Duterte ordering his people not to show up to the hearing, he's violating the Constitution. You know, Duterte doesn't want his people being questioned by the Senate. He says it's disrespectful, the way that they do it. And, you know, he doesn't want people talking about how he handled the virus in the Philippines, the corruption that was going on and what the government was doing. I think that the Senate thinks that they need to do this. And, this is something that needs to be done. We need to look at this and to see where all the money went and why did things go the way they did. And, we know how Duterte is and stuff like this. They want to see what mistakes were made, and they want to go back and see, is this something, are they doing this for the good of the country? That's the question. Are they doing this for the good of the country to see what mistakes were made so they don't make the mistakes again? Or are they using this as a, political ends because there is an election coming up?
Yeah, there's so many, speculation on this issue. So, well, the truth will come out later, but, in the meantime, yes, it could be used for, during the campaign. It depends on what party you belong.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, they're gonna use this COVID-19 throughout the whole campaign. Oh
yeah,
he did this wrong, and then blame person because I did this wrong because you made me do it wrong. There's going to be all kinds of things that are going to come out about this. I think COVID-19 is going to be one of the biggest issues in the presidential campaign because it's not going to be over by March when the presidential campaign goes into high super high gear. So I think they're all going to be talking about this, and I think that the Senate knows this. I mean, the people in the Senate are not stupid, as Duterte was saying. I'm dumb, you must be smart. But I think that is, going to be the big issue, and that's why the Senate wants to question these people. They want to talk to these people. They want to know, why did you do this? Why did you? And of course, it's easy to see things after the fact. People say, well, why didn't you do it this way? Well, why didn't anybody do anything, a certain way? I mean, look at every country on earth. Not everybody made mistakes during the COVID thing. So, of course, it's easy to see the mistakes after the fact. I mean, you're watching a basketball game and you're saying, well, what you should have done is you should have passed it to this guy instead of throwing it to that guy, because we knew after the fact, we can say, yeah, you made a mistake. So, of course, everybody made a mistake. I mean, look at the freaking United States, all the mistakes that they made. So, they're going to point these things out. But, they could be doing this for the good of the country, or they could be doing this for political reasons.
Yeah, it's going to be both. So, it depends on the people who are watching and listening, and how you will analyze the whole scenario, how the government handled the COVID issue, corruption, or anything of that sort. So, for me, we have how many months to go before elections? So we will know. There will be some truth or whatever that will come up later on. So we'll just wait. So Pastor Ed, we will just wait and see for this. Right, Mr. Lecain?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Duterte is going to have more funny comments coming out about this.
Oh, yeah.
We enjoy listening to Duterte talk about things, especially when somebody is attacking him, how he turns the tables on them. But it is going to be interesting to see how the Senate handles this in the upcoming weeks.
Right. So we'll just wait and see again. All right. Now let's move to Emma Mandaluyong. All right. Here we go. Presidential aspirant Isko Moreno said he will reduce the taxes 50% for fuel and electricity if he wins the election next year. Do you think it's doable, or just another campaign promise of a politician to gain votes? Your opinion, Mr. Lecain.
I mean, this is the case with all politicians. Name a politician that doesn't do this. You do anything you can to get elected, and then worry about what you said later. Big example is the current president. I mean, he made numerous claims and promises, and a lot of them which we're still waiting for. I mean, I'm still waiting for. I want to see Duterte on a jet ski out in the South China Sea waving a Filipino flag. I'm still waiting for that. So, he's got a little bit of time left. But, this is the norm for presidents trying to get elected around the world. The first problem is to get elected. So the second problem is to do the things you promised that got you elected. And I love how politicians will make these grand statements that are very easy to understand, such as slash taxes 50% on electricity and gas. I mean, that sounds great. That sounds great. But, the hard part is to explain how you're going to do it. So I want him to explain how he's going to do it. How will you make up the revenue in the middle of a pandemic when the government needs every single peso it can get? Where's the money going to come from? In this case, Moreno saying that, why should we give what did he say? He said, why should we give the money to the greedy politicians who are going to steal it anyway? Why not leave it in the hands of the people? Yay, yay, everybody claps. How wonderful. That's great. But those taxes are there for a reason. The money's not going to appear just because you take it away. It's not like, you funnel the water out and then, it continues to keep refilling. This is, if you look at the current administration, oil prices are through the roof now in the Philippines. Gas prices have gone way up. So it's hurting the country economically. What is it called? The train law, where there's a 10% tax on gas and 12% VAT tax. And some people have said, we need to get rid of that taxes altogether. But here again, and I've said this before, politicians are going to say whatever they need to get elected. That's how you get elected. And it sounds great and wonderful, and it's easy to understand. I'm going to cut taxes. I'm going to give you more money. People love it when you say you're going to give them more money. But, how's it going to pay for it? That's another story.
Yeah. And how do you think, because there are, some people, they don't understand the process to do things, especially in taxes. They don't know that it's not just prerogative of president to sign something. No, it has to pass through the Congress, Senate, blah, blah, blah.
Complicated.
I mean,
it's so complicated.
It's not easy. Yes, it is complicated. So I hope people realize that, when people say something, unless you're going to give your own personal money to people, but it's a different story. And it's,
politicians don't do that. But yeah, I mean, the great thing, I'm going to cut taxes. Just say those two words, cut taxes. And people love to cheer. And speaking of cutting things, we need to cut our show, Lalie Tolentino, because we're out of time.
As usual.
As usual. But you know what, Lalie? I have to say, I appreciate the questions that we got this week. We love all the questions that we got from our people, our viewers this week. And so please keep sending those questions in to Lalie, and she'll keep reading them, and we'll keep talking about them. So, but Lalie Tolentino, for all of us here at the New World News Jam, I am Eric Lecain. We are out of time here on DZRJ and RJ TV. So please, everybody, come back next week. Be safe out there, and we'll see you then.